to be the man, you gotta beat the man right here.
Is the future of wrestling. You can call this the new world order of wrestling, brother.
Nobody is on my level. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
It's time. Another Wrestling is Real podcast. This is King of Podcasts hanging out with you. Middle of the 10th anniversary of the program. Year 11, starting off right now. Thanks for listening in. Subscribing to the show, the website, wrestlingisreal.com, where you can find everything and anything on the program. And we're going to talk about AEW Revolution and the lead up to it this weekend on Sunday, not Saturday, but Sunday. I had to hear Excalibur say it a few more times on the broadcast because I almost was ready to go ahead and go to get ready for it on Saturday. But no, it's Sunday night. Of course, there'll be a post show right here, wrestlingisreal.com. You can find it right here for yours truly. I'm pondering. I'm thinking about it, and I haven't had anybody tell me about this yet, but I wonder how good it is to watch the AEW pay-per-views in the theater, because I see that my theater's going to have it. $26. And I believe Bleacher Report Live is going to have it for $59? I forget what the pricing is right now, but I believe it's $59. But I haven't looked at the pricing and all that stuff. Oh, it is $50. Got it. So I'm thinking about it. Half the price to go over there and watch it. That's not bad. Actually, not that bad. But I mean, I might actually go watching movies on Friday and Saturday and then go Sunday to go watch the pay-per-view. I don't know. I'd think about it. I'm not sure if I'll do that yet, but it's a thought process. So I'm just thinking about it just to see if I want to go with it. But anyway, there's a lot of things going on with the matches and what they have set up for the pay-per-view this weekend. Quickly, let's just run through it. What they have planned so far, it should be all set up. And what they have really much said, it's a pretty stacked show. Chase Center, San Francisco, you got a good arena out there. And a lot of matches set up. A lot of title matches, first of all. Let's make that point across very clear. World Trios Championships on the line. The Women's World title. The TNT title. The AEW World Tag Team titles. The AEW World Championship are all on the line at Revolution. It's a big show. And I think with AEW this time, in the time they had around the holidays, getting up to now, it's been a little bit weird. MJF's been champion, and so far they were setting things up for him and Brian Danielson to go along going forward. It did take a lot for them to go ahead and move this along, and there's a lot of talk about MJF being very formulaic, where his promos are formulaic, the style of feuds he has are formulaic. They somewhat are, but that's part of the game. I mean, it is consistent with MJF. In some cases, he tries to be like kind of friendly, but he's not. He tries to be sly. Then he starts bribing people to go and do his work as bidding for him to break down and beat down his opponents until they get to the match. They already set up the shoulder injury. That was set up where MJF set that up. And now we get the Ironman match. You know that shoulder's going to be a focal point. With MJF matches, you do want to have an injury you can go and work off of. It's an old school match. And I think people just really complain because MJF is such an old school character. He's following the steps that we've seen of other stars. Ric Flair, Nick Bockwinkel. This is what they do. This is an old school classic heel. And I think people really don't want to just appreciate the work that MJF does putting this together. And the other part he adds to it is he adds a little bit of realism to his promos and to his stories. The car accident, the fiancé breaking up with him, those kind of things do hit. And we don't know if this is true or not, but there's just enough truth to it for it to be real, for it to give some reality to it. So there's real emotion to it. The emotion when it comes to Brian Danielson and the way that MJF explained that Danielson keeps going out there to work and cannot help himself. He has been concussion after concussion. He's got the family, he's got the wife, he's got the life. But he wants to keep going out here. He wants to keep beating himself up. Brian Danielson tonight delivering a great counter promo back at MJF, really pummeling it down and really hitting it home. He wants to fight. He could have been at WWE right now and could continue to be being paid for and be taken care of for the rest of his life. But he wants to fight, which is locked in reality. Now, does MJF get the win over Brian Danielson and continue to move forward? That's where I think things go, because MJF needs to be, for this run, I need something more out of this. Maybe him just being a heel here and being champion. I think people have just felt like they feel like, okay, he's got everything. But we don't feel like we could hate him more than we already do. And that's the part that we need to see, is that MJF has to be more diabolical. The devil has to get his due. He has to be more diabolical. If there's a way to do it. Not just for the promos, but what he's doing. His actions in the ring need to go even farther. I think that's the part we need to see more of. I don't know what this match is going to be, but it's the first Ironman match I can think of where MJF has ever been in a 60-minute match. A guaranteed Broadway. I'm excited for that. When they put that match together, I was excited. Brian Danielson, we know, is going to be able to run through this. I think they said he's done it 4 times. No, more than that. Excuse me, more than that. Besides the fact he's done Broadways anyway. But Brian Danielson and MJF should be able to put a clinic together. A lot of mat wrestling, a lot of submissions. I expect that. I expect some of this match to be slow, plotting, pacing. I expect that. I think we need that kind of match to happen. MJF needs to go through the run of a Ric Flair Broadway. He needs to go to that 60-minute match. He needs to be where Dusty Rhodes was before. Those 60-minute brawls, he needs to feel those. And that's the part I think that Tony Khan needs to go and take into account. These long matches, the long Broadways, we need to get some of those in. Some of these championship matches need to go ahead and run that long. Do you want to run this at the end of the night? I mean, it's the main event, but man, I hope they don't go that long. It's an 8 o'clock start, by the way. And imagine this match is going to be for an hour. And they run this here, start the match at what, like 11 o'clock, 11:05, 11:10, and you're still going to midnight? I think with the matches they already have set, they could get through the first, they could go through the undercard, get it done within 2 hours, and then get to that world title match. Because they need to do that. Now, they haven't put that many matches out. Like, they put matches out, but they're not. The one thing they did was they made sure there were a lot of teams in multi-man matches with the tag team titles and the trios titles. So there's that part to work off of. But this match is indicative of what they need to do, where the pillars that they have in the company, they're getting to be more of the focus. There are obviously some teams that are going by the wayside, and we don't see a whole lot of. Some of those veterans we're starting to see are going to be put into the Ring of Honor side. And some of them have been taken off TV right now, so that they will be surprised as when they come on to work on Ring of Honor television, and Ring of Honor has its own standalone. Or there's people like Eddie Kingston will move on over. So will FTR be part of that group at Ring of Honor? Because they haven't been on AEW for a while. And you think about what other stars they have that will go ahead and be exclusive to Ring of Honor. Because I think they're going to have to do that. I think that's what Tony Khan wants to do, is create an exclusive line to that. I mean, there are some stars that he has, like the Mark Briscoes of the world, and I don't know if Jay Lethal moves over to that side or not either. But there's a lot of stars they have of the original Ring of Honor. And what he has to do now is, out of that transition period where he had the Forbidden Door, and he had all his New Japan talent, and he had all these veterans coming up here and working, and all that going on, and then the clutter and all this excitement that was going on of constant, here's another debut, here's another debut, here's another debut. Right now, all that pomp and circumstance is done for AEW. They got a couple of years out of it. There are no more free agents to go after. They don't have to worry about WWE in the most part because I don't think they're in the conversation. Tony Khan doesn't have to worry about WWE right now. They are not in the same conversation. Once Triple H finally got himself settled in, your storylines for WrestleMania are solid. We're getting a well-booked WrestleMania this year. We are blessed. We are grateful. Hey, man, you guys want to go ahead and, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, you want to go ahead and shit on the fact that, oh, this big man, I guess he's booking Omos and Brock Lesnar. I don't give a shit. So he has a thing for Omos. So what? He wants to see this guy put in some kind of match with Brock Lesnar. And look, they haven't really been building up Omos that much anyway. They haven't been doing much with him at all. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, you got to see what this guy has. You've been sitting back there for a couple of years. Since the underground days, you remember? And they've been working with him. This is the test. Will Brock Lesnar finish off this guy in like 5 minutes? Sure. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to have Brock Lesnar here in this match, pound down Omos, and somebody else will come in and be the next opponent for Brock Lesnar. Will it be Bobby Lashley? I don't know. Bobby Lashley could be involved anyway, but we know that there's been a lot said. Dave Meltzer actually said this match was not playing on the WrestleMania card, so this is a change. And everybody else that wants to get caught up and say, oh, Vince is coming back. You know, that Palace Intrigue shit really gets old and tired. You not even bring up the fact that I'm not even trying to defend this anymore. But there was a little while ago, about a month ago, that Khan got on TV. The fourth quarter earnings were reported, and he's talking about the fact that, you know what, Vince has no problem stepping down once WWE is cold. Vince wants $9 billion. Okay, that's his asking price. That's his starting price, right? I mean, is anybody going to step up to that price? Is he going to not budge for that price? If you're telling me he doesn't get 8.5 or 8 billion, I think he can settle okay with that. Yeah, bid high. Put a big fat price on it. Who's got the money? Because he wants real buyers. I get it. And maybe he did have some tinkering in here about what's going on with the WrestleMania card. So far, everything else has been pretty solid. Cody and Roman is the match you want to see. With Sami Zayn, you set things up where he is right now, and at the moment, I think it was another show in Canada where you're going to have Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns take on each other in a rematch, doing it for a house show leading up to WrestleMania. Great. And then eventually, we have to wait and see if Kevin and Sami get back together. We have to see if Jimmy and Jay get themselves back together. But the intrigue is in the storyline. A storyline, like I said, that I think Rob Fee is responsible for. And I believe that the long-term storyline booking is good. Like this story, we're not getting the predictability. Because right now, we're in suspense. The tag team match that we're all thinking it's going to happen is in suspense. That could very much well happen, but you know what? The suspense is enough to say, okay, it's intriguing. It's very intriguing. And I think that's what's going to make the match better. Because if you just have the Usos against, Sami and Kevin again, but if you put them up together one more time and you put this match together, Cody and Roman, now we're going to see them in SmackDown face to face. Love it. Cody looking for the fight, looking for the challenge. It's going to go to Roman's turf, to his show. Good. This is the stuff that's going on that AEW can't compete with right now. There's not one storyline they have right now that can compete with what they're doing. So they're not supposed to be worrying about themselves. They can't. I mean, they have factions, but I'll tell you, the factions they have, they're not Bloodline and they're not Judgment Day. And the factions you look at right now for AEW, the Firm, the Jericho Appreciation Society, it's kind of flat. It's not Inner Circle. It's not the Elite. It's not those. And we're seeing that right now where the factions feel a little bit flat. And it's really just factions being put together with factions. which they haven't really worried too much. They don't do the managers so much anymore. They do have managers, but not so much. I already read that Vicky Guerrero is going to be dropping away. Okay. And the rotation of people they have that are up front and personal and important and very crucial, they've been at the very top for a while. Not so much. Britt Baker taking a back seat for Jamie Hayter as champion, as we all wanted. And then you look at what they're doing right now with Ruby Soho being brought in. She's into the mix. Toni Storm and Saraya. They're in the mix. They're not necessarily... It's a lot of parody booking. As a matter of fact, not parody booking, but like just the level of stardom is like at a pretty good sized mid-card level. And they have feuds that have been going on, and they've been given time. Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Christian Cage, that match will come up. Sure, we're going to get that, and there's been a lot of build-up to it. Wardlow and Samoa Joe has had build. Has it been very intense? I don't know. I haven't felt it this time around. And I think part of it is that I think Tony Khan is very much consumed with dealing with Ring of Honor. He needs to delegate. Like, I know he should have get this set up off the ground. He only got this a year ago. So he's got to get this set up off the ground. It's time to go and set things here where he's got to worry about Revolution now. Then he has to go to Supercard of Honor, right, on WrestleMania weekend, 4 weeks later. There's a lot there. And he needs to have the focus on the main product. Dynamite has to get a little more creative, and there needs to be more attention put on that main show. Yes, you have Ring of Honor here, but I mean, you got to have somebody booking that show for you. Tony Khan needs to have oversight. Like, I know it's not what he wants to do, but he's got to delegate that off to somebody else. And I know it can't just be the Ring of Honor that we've always seen. I mean, when he books pay-per-views are good. That I believe. The TV show and the build to it, they're good, but they could be better. Across the board. And I even think, do we always have to have it just everything in the ring? They have some backstage stuff, but they really don't focus much on backstage. I guess they don't have to. They might have changed, the person handling the production of the show. That's a bit different. I don't think that has made much of a difference. The look of the set is nice. The announcers and the way they set that up with the words Excalibur, Taz, and Shivani has been good. I mean, they're rolling along. Have the numbers really reflected? No. Like, they've been very flat, and, the momentum is what's missing right now with AEW, where I look at it. I wish I knew there was a better way to kind of explain, or just to get a good idea of where things are, but the numbers have not been outstanding. They still kind of go up and down. I mean, last week they did pull 1 million viewers. But then you talk about, okay, they've hit close to 1 million viewers 4 times this year, or they broke 1 million 4 times this year so far. In 10 weeks. We don't know what they're going to have this week, but either which way. They're kind of struggling right now. And Rampage has been across the board. It's been like up and down all over the place. Impact has been very steady. Between 80 to 100,000 viewers any given week. SmackDown is very consistent. 2.2 to 2.4 million viewers. Pretty consistent across the board. And Raw, without the attention of Monday Night Football, no national championships. If there's not a major sporting event going alongside them, they're rolling along. 1.8 to 2.2 million viewers, solid. So they're really doing what they need to do. Like the WWE's in a good shape right now. AEW is flat. The momentum they had before, it's down. It's gone down. It's simmered. It's just not as hot as it was. But that's because they are transitioning. And the transition is, when you look at the card itself, okay, you're looking at stars that are getting built up that need to be pushed pretty well. The stars that they've been pushing that are kind of originals to the product. With MJF, with Wardlow, with the Gunns, with the Acclaimed, with Hangman Adam Page to a point, but it hits the status of the Elite, with Ricky Starks, with Jimmy Hayter, and with House of Black to a point. But I think they got a lot of young stars they're trying to push up there. No Darby Allin this time around. I know, I'm sorry. I guess they didn't put it on here. I don't know if it's going to be added in the pre-show or not, but I didn't see if Christian Cage and Jungle Boy are part of that match going up in the 0 hour part of the show. I don't think I saw that yet. Let me see if I'm missing that here or not. No. Oh, no. Actually, Christian Cage, no holds barred match should be on the card, but has not been. I was looking one place that didn't show it. But it should be there. But regardless, they got good matches on here. Just got to get it all done. That's it. 8 matches on the card. And so far, they're just working on things, right? So, for instance, Swerve Strickland, Keith Lee, we have not seen much of. Parker Boudreaux, we have not seen much of. Certain factions are in and they're out. I just think that the one thing they need to be able to go and show is that there's just consistency on their roster. Consistency in the star power. And I think what he needs to do is just now, the pillars that he has been building up for the last, 3 years, last 4 years, let's get him up to the top. Because right now, MJF is your world champion, should stay like that after Sunday night. Wardlow should take the TNT title. We should get that redemption right there for him. And Samoa Joe goes over to Ring of Honor. The Gunns and the Acclaimed are stirring up to be a pretty good tag team feud so far. Compared to the fact we used to have like Santana Ortiz or FTR or others that are out there not being used as much. But like the veterans are not getting the main focus. They are being used as enhancement. Right? Rouge, Bandito, there's a lot of stars here that are kind of this, that they're going to get their wins, but the title holders, they're giving it to younger stars, the ones that are trying to build up. The trios title, not so much, because you just got factions there. You got trios that are together. Like the trios title, they just put it onto the Elite first. Make the change the House of Black. They can do that because there's just factions, there's trios, enough of them out there to use for any time to put the title together. We haven't seen Death Triangle in a while all together. Like I know Pentagon was out there. Is Rey Fenix hurt? Is that what it is again? We haven't seen Pac. There's a lot of those stars, that veterans that are very much popular. We have not seen them out there much. That is one of those things where is the absence makes it hard to grow fonder, where we're going to want to wait and see if AEW is going to have these stars come back up. Will Tony Khan pencil them back in? Because I think what's really hard is if you try to ask yourself, okay, who's on the roster we haven't seen in a while? Because I'll tell you, that would be one question that I would have that would be pretty tough to answer if you ask me. I'm going to look at the SmackDown Hotel and look at the stars that I haven't seen on Dynamite. The ones that are just stars that you think would be shoe-ins on Dynamite, right? Andrade, I don't know if he's signed or not, or if he's still in the company, or I don't know if he was just let go, or we don't know yet. If I keep looking, Athena, we haven't seen much of after her debut, especially after she had her run after the TBS title, right? If I keep looking here, Brian Cage, I think he's more to the Ring of Honor side. We've not seen have the Varsity Blondes been around at all? I've not seen Pillman Jr., and I haven't seen Griff Garrison in a while, right? We haven't seen FTR. We haven't seen Claudio. We haven't seen much of Blackpool Combat Club as of late, except for backstage. Best Friends, they got, into an injury backstage. So they were kind of like, sit off to the side. Dark Order, we don't see a whole lot of. We don't see them all together anyway. Some members of the Jericho Appreciation Society, we don't see too much. Like if with Daniel Garcia, you don't see how much you have of him. Darby Allin, he comes in and out. If I have to add other names, Ethan Page I haven't seen in a while. We haven't seen Private Party in a while, have we? I don't remember if either one of them got hurt. I don't see Jade Cargill. I mean, yeah, she's on Rampage all the time, but I don't see her much on Dynamite with too much. I mentioned Keith Lee. Konosuke Takeshita, we do see quite often. Chris Statlander is still hurt, unfortunately. I have not seen Kyle O'Reilly. Of course, Adam Cole, we're still waiting for him to come back. I haven't seen Lance Archer in a while. I think Luchasaurus is hurt, isn't that right? And the Kingdom's there, but I guess Mike Bennett and Matt Taven are supposed to be going over the Ring of Honor. That's probably where they're going to be set up. Haven't seen much of Mercedes Martinez. I know that Thunder Rosa's still hurt, and now she's doing Spanish commentary. Miro, we've not seen at all, but he's always been like in and out anyway. He's kind of just been disappearing a lot. Nyla Rose, we don't see much, except if she's over on Dark or Rampage. And I'll be honest, I've not watched Rampage in a long time. I've really been just not remembering to go and switch over to watch it. Or for the most part, I'm always going out to the movie, so I don't stay around to go and catch it, and I don't think about going back and picking it back up once I get home. I know Santana's not been around. There's the whole thing with him and Ortiz. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's unfortunate. Scorpio Sky, is he still hurt, right? Is that what's going on? I've not seen Shawn Spears in a while. If Darby Allin's not there, there's not Sting. Sammy Guevara was out there tonight, but no Ty Mello. And that's pretty much it. So we're waiting. It's as if, they have the roster set. Plus, we don't know a lot of, I really don't keep up with who's coming and going over there in the company. But, for the most part, there's names that are around that have not been much of it being said. But, the other thing, too, is that the roster's kind of set. And the WWE right now is at the point where they're not worried too much about having to go and have any other people to come in from that whole rush of them bringing in stars back to brought in from the NXT Black and Gold 2019 days, right? We're not seeing much more of that. It's just like WrestleMania season's here, so there's just certain people that are just being given the back seat. And that's it. But otherwise, right now, we're just AEW and the momentum they would have. I don't see a lot of rush. So, we're just waiting. I want something to kind of stir things up. I don't know if it's like some kind of a storyline that really just stirs up that encompasses the whole roster. I don't know what the storyline is, but I wish Tony Khan would put something more of magnitude with the existing roster. I don't know what it is. Listen, the see House of Black and do their madness over on the Elite, that's fine, but I want to see something more where there's something that just stands out. They need something like what the Bloodline represents, where the faction has multiple storylines they're dealing with. They need, and Judgment Day. Those are good examples of factions that are not just with other factions taking on each other. There's multiple things that are going on, and there's a different agenda going on, and there's some divide and conquer stuff going on within those two factions. It works. But we don't see that right now in AEW. And maybe there's nothing that's in their modus operandi. Maybe that's not what they want to do. But I want to see more out of that. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. But I need something out of Revolution to really get me there. Let's look at what they did on Dynamite tonight. They set things up for certain matches to set up for the go-home show. It was fine. First off, Orange Cassidy over Big Bill retains the All-Atlantic Championship. We see that match, and we see that title being used, which is fine. Face of the Revolution ladder match to set up the next contender for the TNT title after Wardlow and Samoa Joe. And Powerhouse Hobbs now gets the chance to go ahead and hold on to a ring that gives him the opportunity to go after the TNT title. Good. I like it. Makes me think that Wardlow will win and Powerhouse Hobbs will be his next opponent. His first opponent coming out of this. And I feel like the TNT title should get more of a storyline. It does, but not enough. Like, they have made that title important. It's Intercontinental title important. It's, you know, the old United States Championship, WCW style type important, I guess. It's a secondary belt. It's not bad. But there could be more to it. And then you got things set up where Chris Jericho has a match over against Peter Avalon, who's been changing his look now. And Jericho and Starks had got their hands on each other. That match should be good this weekend. Renee Paquette talking to Christian Cage. He says he was done with Jack Perry. He was sitting at home hearing that in 2023 he was going to win a singles championship, and Cage said over his dead body, because Cage is going to win a singles championship in 2023. And Cage said his problem with Perry is that everybody in this generation treats his business like a video game. And Cage, he, on the other hand, treats the business like an ATM machine, and he's not done milking it dry. So do we have a match set up, a fight with no rules or regulations, and Revolution? The lights went dim, and Jack Perry is in a graveyard digging a ditch and a tombstone with Cage's name on it. So graveyard match, I guess? And that's been set up. We knew it was going to be a match eventually, but they decided they're going to set the match up tonight. And Jimmy Hayter will be setting things up for her match, where she'll be in a triple threat against Saraya and Ruby Soho. And I like her. I've liked this so far, what they've done. Interesting that Britt Baker and Jimmy Hayter turned face while Saraya and Toni Storm turned heel. Didn't expect that, but I mean, I understand the switch already coming for that. That's fine. And the other part was Jimmy Hayter and Britt Baker never broke up, which it could have had happen, but they didn't. FTW title, Hook over Matt Hardy. Then you have the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal, and coming out of that, Orange Cassidy and Danhausen make the fourth team in a fatal four-way for the tag team titles on Sunday. And then it's set up with Brian Danielson and MJF. We talked about the promo. It was great. Well done. Really loved it. But I think the end ring for that match for MJF has to be, we need to be talking about that and seeing just a glorious match that comes up out of this. I'm waiting for it. I want to see what it is. I don't know what it'll be, but I want that match to be something that will just stand out like that. Now, one person that I do respect the fact that he actually says it, he introduces the show every week, Ric Flair, actually made comments about the match. Talk about a guy that is the master of 60-minute matches. Ric Flair made comments about this on the To Be the Man podcast. And this is what he says. Quote, well, first of all, I love those kind of matches. And you know how I feel about it, because there are so few people that can pull them off, because they have to go 60 minutes, right? That alone is an art in itself. And I'm not going to give a shit what anybody says. They certainly have the ability, but a lot of it will depend on timing and pacing. It's going to require it to be really good, and they'll be judged by guys like me very heavily, because they always say, oh, the old-time guys couldn't do it. Me and Steamboat could do it standing on our heads. Me and Ricky Morton could do it standing on our heads. And we didn't sit in rest holds and headlocks and shit like that. Some guys you had to, but there's some guys that could go an hour without blinking an eye. Harley, Jack Briscoe. I mean, it's a lost art because guys don't have to do it. But I think the audience will love it. I expect both guys, because they're really good to put on a great performance, but time will tell. Last 15 minutes makes it or breaks it. It's like actually the last 10 minutes. They got to see everything they have in the last 10 minutes, because they can't forget about the first 45 and wish it hadn't happened until the last 10. That's when we'll see what they got. That's a lot of pressure. And he believes MJF will win the match. I want MJF to really shine. Imagine if this match, with all the submissions, listen, he's good in the ring, but this is a pinnacle, right? This really is a game changer for his career. One of the best for 20 years in Bryan Danielson, American Dragon. You're getting him, the grizzled veteran, and MJF right now in his prime as champion. These are the kind of matches you have. Like, I mean, this is the most important thing, that Tony Khan is booking Bryan Danielson here. I love it. And there are certain grizzled veterans you got. They can also be going up after MJF to this as well. We know there's a lot of opponents for him. But here, you get this, and MJF getting us a chance here to go ahead and really pull some good shit. There's been a little bit of steam off of the fact when MJF finally came back, remember? When he came back, that was just such a rush after all the shit that was going on from last year. Returns, it's been solved for me. He won the title. He has accomplished the feat of the championship. Now he needs to go put his plight into the fact that his matches need to be of wrestling lore. This shit should be something that Gordon Soley comes out of his grave to call. There's a suplex, the Crimson Mask. I want that kind of shit. And I imagine Jim Ross will be covering this match, adding something to the commentary here. This right here is important. Tony Khan obviously is a fan of wrestling history. He will appreciate this match. And I'm pretty sure when they book this match, put it all out there. Put it all out there. I mean, don't forget, I will still say something about this as well. When we had Winter is Coming, right? We're talking about December 15, 2021, is what I think about. Adam Page and Bryan Danielson going to a 60-minute time limit. 60-minute draw. That match was incredible. I loved it. Loved it. We haven't had a match like that in a while. And you can go with what you want in this match and see what you get out of it. But I'll tell you what. Giving us the Ironman match, a set 60-minute time limit, putting this match together, I love it. I want this to do so well. It's really, really important. So, that's the match to worry about. The momentum comes from that. It's not anything else. Nothing else in the undercard is going to put that kind of a difference except for this match. That's the one that's going to really set the bar. I think that's a good way to put it. That this 60-minute Ironman match needs to set the bar for the rest of the roster. I want this to be a match where after a year and 3 months, we haven't seen a match like this. MJF now gets put to the test here against Bryan Danielson, the 60-minute man, right? Shows up at this match, wins convincingly, and we really see a standout performance of which MJF, you can say what you want about him being the heel wrestler, the prick, the bastard, whatever, the asshole, the devil, but if that guy pulls out a performance and people are talking about the match and they're talking about MJF more than they're talking about Bryan Danielson, shit. I will love that. MJF has the potential with this match to really pull off a lot of things near and really make him stand out so that you got to respect the guy's craft. You can then honestly validate what this guy does in the ring. I don't know if he's done any 60-minute matches before, but I never really had the opportunity to go and see him just where this is like. You can only do so much of the heel shit in this match. In this kind of match, you're going to just have to go out there, and it is a brawl. It's a war. And get these guys out there and run the gamut. Because this is the true test for any star to see them if they're going to be like a star of the generation. Will be talked about for next generations after that. Carving MJ's name into AEW lore as one of the all-time champions on that roster, on this brand. synonymous with AEW, period. It's all coming to this. That's what Revolution has to be. It is the one match they got great matches across the card. Don't get me wrong, they really do. But this MJF Brian Danielson match, I want this to be a level where all the rest of the roster is saying, fuck. We put some great stuff out there, and these guys just destroyed what we did on the undercard. They made us look sick. They made us look like, second best. Because, I don't know if you're going to have any matches. I want to see if the rest of the roster really does try to turn it up. And they get a chance to say, man, I'm exhausted. Such good wrestling. What a good particular matches we have. And lead up to that 1 hour my Ironman match. It's great that Brian Danielson can still do these matches for this length. And so compelling and so wonderful. So that's the good part, right? He's made for this. But MJF, man, this is a chance. It'll be a crowning achievement. A real star into his career. This is a pinnacle night for him. He's got to get this here, man. I hope it works out great. I really do. I can't wait to see how it does. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap. We're just going to do a rundown of the matches that we got coming up this weekend. We'll start from the bottom. So, no holds barred match. Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry. I will take Jack Perry on the win. It's just good to see Christian Cage in this role. And I hope he gets to see this heel role and he has somebody else he goes after. Because the stuff he's done here with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, I love it. Christian Cage is such a good heel. Such a good heel in this case as well. I do like that a lot. Elite, the fact that House of Black got the upper hand on them, I still think the Elite will beat House of Black for the Trios title. I think Jimmy Hayter will retain over Saraya and Ruby Soho. Ricky Starks will beat Chris Jericho. While, actually, you know what? I'll take Jericho over Starks. I think they'll have a good match together, but I think Starks will not get the win. Jericho Appreciation Society is banned from ringside, by the way. Wardlow will be the new AEW TNT champion. I'll take Adam Page over John Moxley in the Texas Deathmatch. I know I'm crazy to think that, but I do believe that's how it's going to be. And I will take the Acclaimed to retain and become, again, new AEW World Tag Team Champions over the Guns, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, and Orange Cassidy and Danhausen. That's who I pick. And I think MJF will retain the AEW World Championship, World Heavyweight title, over Brian Danielson in that 60-minute Ironman match. And I think he's going to pull off something really special. I want it to be. More than anything, I want to see that happen. There's a couple of stories I want to bring up here that just got brought up that are part of the storylines. We want some news I want to go and just cover here while we got a chance on the program. I got some time left. We're going to do an hour tonight. I have more than enough to talk about. And leading up to WrestleMania, we'll probably have more time to go and get some more things to cover into this. WWE is going to be moving to their corporate headquarters, which will now be located at 707 Washington Boulevard in Stamford, Connecticut. And the move is expected to commence towards the end of the first quarter of 2023. So, by the end of the month, most likely. PW Insider reports that they will be moving their first group of employees to the building later this month. The plan is to have those first divisions of the company in place by the end of March. Then the departments will move piece by piece to the new building, as it will be a slow process. Renovations are still going on with the new headquarters. And the company also wants the process to go smoothly as possible. So, over the next year, it'll take time for the whole transition to be taking place. Currently, WWE right now has about 800 employees at Titan Towers, and it's been reduced due to layoffs following Vince McMahon's return and the company cutting costs while looking for a potential buyer for the company. And they'll move on with that. King and Queen of the Ring will take place in Saudi Arabia. Now, I don't know if that means we have another crown jewel or what it's going to be called, but they're going to be putting those over there. So there's going to be a May 27th pay-per-view or premium live event in Saudi Arabia. And the plan is for it to be in Riyadh, but plans can change. The talk is there will be a King of the Ring and a Queen's Crown tournament held at Saudi Arabia. And finally, talking about the sale of the WWE, where they're talking about who could be the potential buyer. Saudi Arabia is one of them, matter of fact. And some people might even think, well, maybe by Memorial Day weekend when they put that pay-per-view out there, maybe Saudi Arabia will already be in talks, or they'll have some kind of deal where they close it out. And Saudi Arabia will find some way to become owners of WWE. Who knows? Now, there was one potential buyer we're hearing about that has been commenting. And that's Endeavor, the owners of the UFC. Now, CEO Ari Emanuel made comments about the interest in purchasing WWE on their earnings call February 28th, earlier this week, and doesn't make it sound like they're going to be pursuing an acquisition going forward. So Ari Emanuel said this during the earnings call for Endeavor. Quote, as it relates to WWE, it's an unbelievable product. Vince, created a great business. We've had a long-standing relationship with them over the last 2 decades. We're doing on-location business with them, streaming business with them. His business is really valuable, but we're not going to do anything as it relates to changing our leverage position right now. Who wants to keep things where they are? Some people that might say this is a negotiating tactic, but people are trying to say that there's a potential buyer off the list. And there's rumors that others might be taking a pass, but we don't know anything yet. And I don't know if we're going to get anything stirred up right now to learn who's going to be buying the company or not, but that's still the intended plan. We still need to see something sometime over the summer, whether if it's not the sale, it's the broadcast rights are negotiated. But that's all got to get figured out. And that must be going on behind the scenes, privately, and maybe we'll learn something about it soon enough when somebody wants to say something about it. All right, anyway, this weekend, AEW Revolution, Sunday night. I'll do a post show right here, WrestlingIsReal.com. Look for that. It's going to be great. And that's it, man. We're doing another Wrestling Is Real podcast coming up this Sunday night. Look for that. Enjoy AEW Revolution and come back for another Wrestling Is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.
Thank you for listening to the Wrestling Is Real podcast. Find past episodes anytime at WrestlingIsReal.com or subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or all major podcast distributors. Follow at King of Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. This has been a presentation of the King of Podcasts Radio Network.